All right, we are live. I am so excited to have here Judith Clark from Women Who Care Ministries. She founded Women Who Care Ministries, and I've had the utmost honor to be able to help volunteer at her organization. And you have made such a huge impact in Montgomery County and surrounding areas of just help providing food, especially during COVID-19. And I just want to say thank you so much for so much of your hard work. It is in the volunteer center or where your organization is.
Yes.
I'm telling you all, it is run a tight ship, which is perfect. You will be amazed about how many people and how many bags you can pack in such a short amount of time. And so, again, thank you so much for coming on here. And why don't you go ahead and tell us more about, where you guys are specifically located and your primary mission and just about Women Who Care Ministries in general.
Great. So first, I want to thank you for having me on this Spotlight series. And I am excited anytime I get a chance to talk about the great work that we are doing in the community. So we are Women Who Care Ministries. I'm the CEO and the founder. And we started in my house as a women's fellowship nearly 20 years ago. And when we started, we had no idea what level we were going to be. So we started out as a women's fellowship, and a group of women would get together the third or fourth Sunday of each month, and we invited women from all backgrounds, all faiths. We did adhere strictly to Christian doctrine because that's how it was based, but women from all different walks of life came. And the common denominator was that we were women. And also something that made this women's fellowship so powerful was that it was a sacredness about it, and that a woman felt free to share whatever she needed to share, knowing that she wouldn't be judged and knowing that whatever was shared there would stay there. So that allowed women to really open up. That allowed a lot of healing to take place. And from that inreach, the outreach was born. So as I said, we started in my home, had no idea one day we'd have an office, had no idea one day we'd be working, doing the mighty work we're doing, particularly as it relates to hunger, which I'll talk about a little later. So we were founded in June of 2001, and our mission is to help hurting people heal. And Carol, I do this through various program areas. We do have a domestic violence program that offers preventative services and also restorative services, not just to women, but particularly to teens. We're focusing now on teens. There's a lot of bullying going on. There's a lot of teen dating where children are dating at an earlier age than they were when I was coming up. And so they need to be taught how to not only look for the warning signs in unhealthy relationships, but how to learn the critical things like self-esteem so that they can bypass a lot of the situations that they will have if they're not prepared for it. And then we also have a food pantry. We are the Montgomery Village Food Pantry right there where we're located. And we provide a 7 to 10 day supply of food to families who are hurting. But our biggest program, our signature program, and the program that we're known most by is the Helping Kids Eat Weekend Meal Program. And this program fights child hunger by providing weekend meals to low-income kids who would otherwise go hungry over the weekend. And prior to COVID, we were running this program. We've been running this program for like 15, 16 years now out of the 20 years. And so we were like second week in March, we were providing weekend meals to 2,500 kids over 40 schools, 40 elementary and middle schools in Montgomery County. So this was the age of anywhere from like 2 or 3 years old all the way up to 12. But since COVID, we've continued our partnership with Montgomery County Public Schools, and we stand right alongside them on Fridays and give out weekend meals to families. Now it's no longer just elementary and middle school. It's any child that's 18 years or younger that can partake of these very critical non-perishable meals. So these are typically the people who would receive free and reduced meals Monday through Friday. That's how it started out. But now there's a new needy. There's a sector in Montgomery County who maybe, even prior to COVID wouldn't qualify for the program, but they qualify now because they've had so much devastation in their family with one or two spouses no longer working, reduced hours. And also you have to look at the fact that kids are home all day now, where
Right.
before they'd be gone, but now they're home all day. So that's naturally going to cause them to eat more, but they need to have food to eat even when they are hungry. So now, like matter of fact, last Friday, we provided food sacks to 5,640 children. So our program has more than doubled as a result of
Wow.
COVID. And we're really excited about the fact that we get to make such a market difference, that we're able to shine a light in such a space that would otherwise be so dark.
Yeah, and that is exactly what this community needs because I love that you touched on some of the different lanes that you also tap into, as you mentioned, domestic violence. And
Yeah.
then you also have what the program that you're most popular for is your children program with helping with hunger. Why was it important for you to try to help end child hunger? Where did that stem from?
Well, it first started out with just wanting to make sure that kids didn't go to bed hungry. Again,
Mhm.
we knew that for the children who were getting free and reduced meals Monday through Friday, we knew that they were in food insecure households over the weekend. So our initial reason was that we didn't want kids going to bed hungry over the weekend. And although that's still true, we began studying and really looking into the devastating effects of child hunger, how malnutrition affects a child's physical growth, their cognitive thinking, how if a child is not getting the nutrition that they need in their formative years, it will affect so many different areas of their life. It will stunt their growth. They're 2 to 3 times less likely to succeed at major tasks. It impedes their learning. There are a lot of kids that have behavioral issues when they come to school on Monday as a result of not having eaten before. So we realized that child hunger was far more serious issue than just making sure kids weren't going to bed hungry. It was a lot of other dynamics that this program would allow us to address. So the more we got into it, and we found out all of this just as a result of doing research when a funder would want to know what we were doing, why we were doing. So, and that's how, as our knowledge increased, that increased our desire to really get in there and to really make a difference and to feed as many children that we could.
Yeah, and a lot of people, that's education that a lot of people don't normally have. They can make a lot of different assumptions of whatnot, of who needs these meals. And so you guys being able to step in and say, let's take a step further and really help provide all children that really need these meals. And like you said, just providing some light in a very dark area is really impactful, and it's very inspiring for people to, if you have a passion, to really go educate yourself more about that issue and help make an impact in that. And
Yes.
so you've touched on these programs, but can you just go ahead and provide us just like a list of all the programs that you have so that people know where they can go to help serve and help you? Because I know you have on your website the helping the kids with the backpack weekend, which I know you talked about. So can you touch a little bit on those programs just in a list?
Okay, so as we said, our domestic violence program is called Restore the Joy. And when we were, prior to COVID, we provided life skill workshops right at our facility. We also acted as a referral for people who had other issues. We partner with Montgomery County Family Justice Center. As a matter of fact, I sit on the board of Montgomery County Family Justice Center Foundation. And so we do a lot of work together in making sure that we end domestic violence one victim at a time, that they're getting all of the resources they need, if they're needing counseling, if they're needing advocates to go to court or anything like that. So we're doing a lot with domestic violence right now, because just like child hunger has escalated, domestic violence incidents have
Mm.
elevated as well. But we're not doing the same kind of programmatic issues that we were doing before, because we're not meeting in our facility anymore. But we do a lot of referrals. We do take a lot of calls. We do a lot of interventions with getting them connected with the Crisis Center, 911, and the Montgomery County Family Justice Center, for whatever their needs might be. But we also, again, like I said, most of our volunteerism comes out of the weekend meal program for kids. And so what people do, they go to our website and they can sign up there, or they can also go to WWCM Volunteers at yahoo.com. They go there and they say how many people it is that want to volunteer, and then we give them a time slot. The good news is that we have so many volunteers that we've had to narrow it down just to 2 slots, because we had tons of people who wanted to come and maybe donate their time for the whole like 11 to 5 time slot that we have. But in order to give everybody a chance to volunteer and make a difference, we've narrowed it down to 2 hours. And so it's on Wednesdays and Thursdays in between 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. But now we have a lot of special groups that want to come forward. So we will do special groups that is just them, because we can safely fit about maybe 14 to 16 people in our facility, because it's important to us to strictly adhere to CDC guidelines. So we'll schedule groups in the evenings, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m., 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., Saturday mornings, Saturday afternoon, so that groups. We have a lot of sororities, a lot of fraternities. Leadership Montgomery has come. A judge came and volunteered with us yesterday, a Montgomery County judge. Now he wants to bring the whole courthouse down. You know, everyone really, really loves helping us help others. So, so volunteer opportunities are primarily with the weekend meal program, because that's what we're doing primarily. It's no easy feat to provide 5,500 plus food sacks a week. So the volunteers would come and they would either help make the food sacks, they would tie the bags that we make after the food sacks, they would help put them in the bins and put them at a storage place for distribution. Now, so tomorrow being Friday, that's the day we distribute. That's the culmination of all of our hard work throughout the week. So we have a big team, when I say big, like 20 to 30 people meeting outside of our facility on Fridays to actually, they've adopted a school and they load their vans up and they drive the bins to the specific school and stand right alongside Montgomery County Public Schools. Montgomery County Public Schools are giving out our weekend bags and we're helping them. It's just teamwork makes the dream work.
Yes.
And we're giving them to the families, and the families are so grateful. They just love, you know, what Montgomery County Public Schools is doing in providing meals and what we're doing. So on Fridays, you know, Montgomery County Public Schools, they'll serve a breakfast and a lunch, but the food that we give on Friday is for weekend consumption. So make sure they have enough food to tide them over until they can come back to one of the 40 Montgomery County Public School distribution sites. So in addition to us distributing at 15 Montgomery County Public School distribution sites, we also distribute out of our very own facility on Clubhouse Road on Fridays from 1 p.m. until 3 p.m. And this is for the people who weren't able to make the deadlines, because Montgomery County Public Schools just changed the deadline because of summer hours. So the summer hours of distribution are 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. And so we have people come over 1 to 3 p.m. for those who missed that deadline. And also there's a lot of people who work, because we don't want any child, any family going to bed hungry over the weekend. So we're able to serve them. So we need tons of volunteers for all 3 of those to either distribute the food on Fridays. And they don't have to have a big car. If they just have 2 hours to donate, we have partnerships with Sheehy Ford, who said that they would provide as many vans as we need. So they're out there on Fridays too. They load up their vans, they drop off the food, and then so someone with a smaller car can still do the distribution. But then even though their car is small, they still have room to stack the empty plastic bins, the totes, and bring them back to our facility. So there's something for everyone to do. And so many people have such a heart to serve that we have an overabundance of volunteers, but we need more. We always want more. But what I'm saying is that's good for us to know, because this allows us to know that we can increase, that we will have the manpower to do what we need to do. Because although we're feeding 5,500 kids now, given the proper resources, given the volunteers that we already have and the proper funds, we could easily take those numbers from 5,500 to 7,000 and then 10,000. Wow. Because if you know how to successfully run a system and make one weekend meal, you can make $1 million.
Yeah. I love that there's such an abundance amount of volunteers.
We're so grateful. Yes.
It's so
But
grateful.
each week. So that's why I said we still need them. We have some regulars who come every week consistently, and then some come when they can. And now, even with vacation time coming up, there's a lot of volunteers who say they're going on vacation for 1 or 2 weeks. But again, we're getting brand new volunteers each week. And I hope some of our listeners are some of our brand new volunteers, because we need you, we want you, we thank you in advance.
Well, I love that. Actually, Kelly Leonard commented, said, is it too late to volunteer tomorrow? What time and where should I go? Is there anything that you should know, or any listeners for tomorrow?
Yes. So to volunteer tomorrow, you would show up outside of our facility, Women Who Care. We're Women Who Care Ministries, but the facility is Women Who Care Community Outreach, and the address is 19642 Clubhouse Road. And so we'll be out there as early as 9 a.m. tomorrow, giving out assignments for schools. And if it's someone new, they usually will team up and go with someone who has already been before. It's so easy to do. It's not even really something that that's hard to learn. It's very exciting, very rewarding. I like to visit several of the sites, with my camera, taking Facebook shots of just the community response to what we and Montgomery County Public Schools are doing.
Well, how did you, as an entrepreneur, you obviously knew that partnering with the schools would, that's where the kids are, and that's where you are going to need to be able to make the huge impact with all these children. Yes. How did you start that partnership with them for people who, want it? Like, who did you know to contact? Like, how were you able to establish that connection?
It happened by accident. What I mean when I say that is, if you have the heart and the will to do something, the way will be paid for you. God has always fixed it so that whatever he wants done, and if he has that willing, obedient spirit, he will make the way. So when I say by accident, everything is in divine order. But what I meant was that was not our intent. Our intent was like, tomorrow we're going to work on developing a partnership with Montgomery County Public Schools. It didn't happen that way. What happened was that Women Who Care Ministries began getting volunteers from sources. And to be honest, when we first started getting tons of volunteers, like 14 years ago, we didn't know what to do with them. And so I prayed about it, and God said, do what you do best. And what we did best at that time was 2 weeks prior, we had a big food drive outside of a local grocery store, to feed over 300 and 350 people in the homeless shelter. And we did so well in 2 days. We raised so much food. We didn't even know what to do with the excess food. So we started donating to the county food bank, and also like Gaithersburg Help, Germantown Help, because we had the proceeds, but didn't really have anything to do with it because we didn't have a program. We didn't have systems in place. We were still operating out of my home. And so once God told me to do what we do best, I knew that meant rallying a team of volunteers as a means of in-kind and being able to bring forward food that would make a big difference. So we used to have like 200 hours worth of volunteerism on our calendar a week. And so we would go out every Saturday and every Sunday, winter, spring, summer, and fall, standing outside the local grocery stores, and we would collect a lot of food. And so from that, the program was built. We'd see teachers, we'd see people out at the school. And it was actually my life coach that told me that Southlake needed a program. And so we contacted Southlake, and we told Southlake that we could provide the weekend meal program to them. So we started with just one school and one school with 25 children. And now and then prior to COVID, we were at 50 schools and 2,500. And now we're at 15 distribution sites and 5,600, just to fast forward. And so, and the reason I'm saying that it was an accident again, because we had no idea, but we were willing to do it. So once we saw how attractive it was with Southlake, someone did a news report on us with the Gazette. Gazette, I don't know if you remember the Gazette, just to show you how long ago it was. So the Gazette did a really big article on us, and when they did that, we started getting calls from a lot of the school counselors or linkages and learning team, and they started saying that they wanted the program at their school. And so we started one school turned into 2 schools, into 5 schools, into 10 schools, into 20 schools. And so before Montgomery County Public Schools really even knew what was going on, we were dealing, because the principals have jurisdiction, we were dealing with the guidance counselors at the school. I actually had a volunteer that would actually call up, she would actually call up schools and see if they were interested in the program. We would go onto Montgomery County Public Schools website, and we would see the farms rate, the free and reduced meals rate, and the ones that were really high, where they had over 50% or 60% of kids that were getting free and reduced meals. We would call the guidance counselor and ask her if that was a program that she was interested in having. And the principals give the guidance counselors the jurisdiction, because they're the ones that's going to be spending their time to distribute the food sacks. Because when we would call a principal, they would just put it, send us right back to the guidance counselor. So we would always include the guidance counselor and the principal on the email distribution. And so at some point, I think maybe we'd been doing it for 3 or 4 years, we said, oh, it'd be a good idea to make sure that we're known officially. So we started going in and talking to the Board of Education and letting them know what we were doing. They were very, very excited. They had already heard of us, but just to be able to have us in a meeting and to let them know that we wanted to expand and we wanted to feed, as many kids as possible a day, a school, a child at a time. And so that's how, that came about. So our partnership with Montgomery County Public Schools has been almost the whole 20 years that we've been in existence. And during COVID, we were already well positioned in the community, already well positioned with Montgomery County Public Schools. And so we just continued to flow. There was no break or no interruption in service from COVID until now. We just immediately, changed the model a little bit. We were no longer bringing it into the schools, but now we're standing alongside Montgomery County Public Schools outside of the schools.
Yeah, and I think that's like a very important piece, is that you've had to, you kind of just pivot on different challenges and say, how can I turn these challenges into opportunities?
Yes,
and
yes.
Keep expanding them. And you guys have been around for a while. I mean, 19 years since 2001. That is a long time, and you have such a successful nonprofit. And I want you to just help me and help the listeners to just, as a fellow entrepreneur and other people that are listening out there, I mean, what have you done to help maintain such a successful nonprofit for so long? And what experiences have you learned that you can help share with others?
Great. So one of the first experiences I learned was when I was having a situation with some people, some very important people that were on our team, and they decided that they would just leave. So my first thought was to be devastated or crushed. And then I realized through prayer and meditation that God was telling me, don't ever worry about who comes or who goes. Just shrug your shoulders and say, oh, well, I'm still going to do it. So to be able to have tenacity almost from day one, to have a doggedness, to have a determination that no matter who comes, no matter who goes, this is what I'm going to do. This is a mission that's going to be fulfilled, And so by having that attitude, the right people came. And of course, those who weren't supposed to be there, fortunately, they left. Okay, because everybody, so everybody that you think should be in your life in any realm, any job you think you should have, that's why a lot of people change careers. So the first fundamental thing that I would say that happened was to make a decision that no matter who comes or who leaves, if this is something that you're determined to do, if this is something you believe you're destined to do, know that you can and you will do it. The second thing was we have to fight fear, and we have to say, I'm going to do it afraid. We can't let fear stop us from our dreams. So I would just pull on all of these acronyms of fear, like fear is false evidence appearing real, fearing the unknown. But I learned to fight the fear because I wanted change in my life and I wanted change in the community more than I wanted to stay the same. So I had to be able to leap out and I had to develop courage. I had to understand that courage does not mean that I don't have fear. Courage means that I'm moving on in spite of the fear. So the second thing I had to do was learn how to move on in spite of the fear. And as I began to move on in spite of the fear, the people that you attract in your life are as healthy as you. So the healthier our team became, the more we would attract healthier people. And what I mean healthier people, people that were like-minded, people that were mission-minded, people who really had the community and our best interest in mind. We were willing to let go of who we thought should be a part of the team to allow who really needed to be part of the team to come forward. So that was another, turning point for us. And then even another turning point after, learning to do it afraid is to have an abundance mentality, to not listen to things like, oh, there's a recession or nobody's giving out any money. And I was like, no, there's funders out there. There's individual donors out there. And if there's only one funder out there with a grant, then that's the grant for me. So to have an optimistic attitude, to know that there's a lot of abundance out here. You just have to have the confidence. You have to have the enthusiasm to get what you want. Now, the same way you asked me how we developed a relationship with Montgomery County Public Schools, and I said by accident, what I meant was that it wasn't something we were planned. It was something that came to be. And this may not sound real, but I didn't even realize how enthusiastic I was until people were always telling me. People were always saying, "You're so enthusiastic. You're so enthusiastic." I had a funder that came like years ago when we were operating out of my house. And they, they were asking us about the kids' food program. We had a lot of volunteers running around. They could see the magnitude of the program even back then. And she called me the next day and she said, "We were just so impressed with you. You're going to get a letter in the mail, but we want to let you know that we've decided to give you a $20,000 grant." Needless to say, I screamed in her ear because that was like the biggest grant ever. And she said, "But we do have just one request for you, Judy." And I said, "What's that?" She said, "The next time, could you please try being a little more enthusiastic?" and so my point is that enthusiasm sells. You don't have to have a big skill set. You don't have to have a lot of knowledge. If you are enthusiastic and passionate about what you're doing, enthusiasm sells. My girlfriend told me about a statement. There's a statement that, and she wasn't calling me ignorant, but there's a statement that says, ignorance on fire is better than knowledge on ice. And I like that. Ignorance. So that means that you don't have to know a lot. You don't have to, have a whole bunch of degrees in nonprofit management or anything like that. If you have a passion, you have a desire, if you're vested, if you believe in what you're doing, people will believe that you believe and people will buy into what you believe. So again, without even realizing how part of what people were attracted to with the ministry was not just mine, but our team's enthusiasm. That's worth mentioning. So we're talking about doing it afraid. We're talking about making the decision to do it no matter who comes and no matter who goes, is having an enthusiastic spirit, being abundance minded, never having a spirit of abundance, not a spirit of lack, never thinking that during COVID-19, nobody has money. Oh no, people have money all the time and people want to help you do what you need to do. And also not afraid to ask, not afraid to ask. That's another thing that has to be that has caused us to be as successful, whether we're asking for volunteers, whether we're asking for an opportunity. We used to be on like channel TV, TVs all the time, whether it's asking for funds. We're not shy about asking for funds because we know it's for a good cause and we know where every penny goes. And we also don't want to rob someone of the blessing to give. No one can fill those of your needs that you won't let show. So we always let our needs be known, even though we have an abundance of volunteers. We have an abundance of volunteers because we have new volunteers each week coming in and coming out. But all of our needs are met with volunteerism. And we're so grateful. We just run through the facility, just thanking them. They are so enthused with being there for us that first they come, then they want to bring their mother, then they want to bring their auntie. This one lady brings a group of 6 girls one Wednesday and then 6 boys the next one. People are so attracted to the spirit of giving, the spirit of cheer, that's in the middle of COVID-19. We have the spirit of cheer. Do we think that there's anything cheerful about COVID-19? Absolutely not. But are we determined that we're going to shine a light into a dark space? Absolutely. So they're attracted to our cheer. They're attracted to our joy. We have many different slogans, and one of them is that we have fun while we get the job done. So people just really it's just really high spirit and it's a fast paced atmosphere because again, making 5,500 food sacks is no easy feat. So again, on the success trail that you were talking about, not being afraid to ask, letting your needs be known, getting in touch with the fact that the number one reason that people give is because they're asked.
Yeah.
That's the number one reason. It's not because there's a tax write-off. It's not because they're kind. It's not because you need it. The number one reason people give is because they're asked. People like being needed. People like making a difference in your life, and especially when you let them know why. You're not just asking. You may tell them, hey, if you donate $5, that's going to feed one child a week. And if you donate $20, letting them know what their donation going to do. If you donate $20, you know that you can feed a child for the week and for a whole month. People like that. People like to not have to reinvent the wheel to make a difference. People like to be able to lay their head on their pillow at night, knowing that they helped the child eat for a week, either through volunteering or donating $5 or $20 or whatever they had. Also, we ask people to refer people in need. So even if the people who come to volunteer with us don't have a need, we ask them to please let people know about our services. If they're being abused, if they're if they're hungry, if they're homeless, because we do a lot of that ancillary services on the side. Because when you're in this field, we know that there's a correlation between substance abuse, domestic violence, hunger, and homelessness. So we're not too far away from those other program areas, but we stay focused on the feeding programs more, so that we can do it well. And that's another thing. Just being focused, not trying to be a jack of all trade and master of none. A lot of people try to pull us into a whole lot of things. And like I said, we'll do referrals, but we have to stay focused on what we're doing, like with the kids' food program and the family food program, which goes hand in hand, because the parents say we love and we appreciate what you're doing for our kids. Well, we're hungry too. So that's why we have the family size food, items for the families, and then the kid-friendly items for the children. And so, and again, just, as far as success, just know that you don't have to be great to get started, but you got to get started to be great. To just accept yourself, to love yourself right where you are, and to just trust that the right people and the right opportunity will going to come in your midst exactly when they're supposed to. And knowing that you're capable of success. That success, again, it doesn't happen by osmosis. Nobody waves a wand and you get this really successful organization. It is a lot of work. It is a lot of hard work. When I left corporate America to do this nonprofit, to do the ministry full time, I took myself back to school as far as the grant writing piece, but it was free because nonprofit. So I got a lot of training and I learned how to write grants because we couldn't afford grant writers. A grant writer would charge $4,000 for a grant, whether we got the grant or not. And I just didn't feel comfortable with giving somebody $4,000 that we didn't have for a grant that we may or may not get. But again, I've always been, pretty good at writing, and I had the passion. And so I learned how to write grants. It was real easy to tell why we were doing what we were doing and the difference that fighting child hunger or the difference of working with someone with domestic violence. It's really easy to tell the statement of need and how they'll be helpful. So those are just some of the key points about being successful.
Well, that's knowledge and wisdom that comes with experience. And I say that because, there's certain things that you learn along the way that only happens when you actually go through it. Because even when someone tells you something, it hits differently when you go through it yourself. And every single thing that you mentioned had to do with the person, not their environment, not their circumstances, not their resources. Everything that you mentioned was about a mindset. And I think that is something that we can all take away from, is that we can control our mindset. We can't control anything else, but we can control our mindset. And so thank you so much for that wisdom. That will be all in our recap post, because those are nuggets that honestly, even me as starting out, we need that. I mean, seriously, and you can take that advice in all walks of life, no matter what you're doing, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're a wife, a daughter, a sister, a brother, a husband, no matter what, whether you're in the corporate world, anything, you guys can take those principles and carry it with you wherever. And so we want to help your mission continue to go on. And can you just touch on some ways that organizations can partner with you as well? Because I know that individuals can sign up, but is there a way, I know that maybe sponsoring you like a school or whatnot, can you touch a little bit about how organizations can help as a whole?
Okay, well, there's many ways that the organization can help. So when we get calls from organizations like, BF Saul, Hospitality Group, they always want to know how they can help. And we let them know the 3 or 4 ways they can help, which is number one, you can come in and volunteer. And again, we have like 12 to 14 people that can come at one time. So if it's a bigger company, they may maybe have 14 come 3 hours in the morning and then 3 hours in the night or back to back, but we get them all in and they come and they volunteer and they make the food sacks. Now, one of the things that we really need now as we're launching our summer meals for kids, we're looking for people to have fund and food drives for us. And what that means is we had a couple of sororities that sent out a flyer and they gave it a targeted time period, like so the summer meal program that we're having now for the ask that we're doing for it to make sure that we have enough food to feed kids over the summer. We send out the flyer we give the flyer to the company. The company sends out the flyer to all of their people. So if it's a church, they send out the flyer to all of their congregation. If it's a company, they send it out to all of their employees, and they let them know the different ways that they can give. They can even bring food to the facility, or if it's more convenient for them, they can just make a donation. So they can mail in a check to us, they can cash app us, or they can make a donation on our website, all of which, of course, is tax deductible. So and so companies like to get involved with that. They like to host, and then they also can host food drives. We've had a lot of companies that have hosted food drives, and we sent them a wish list, and they bought a lot of food, and they came in, and we took a lot of pictures and Facebooked it, and they got a chance to see where their donation was going, and they got a chance to see our very vibrant volunteers in action. So these are the kind of things that companies can do. We make room for groups. As I said, that those will be a different day that they come. And so there's many ways to give.
Yeah, no, and those are really great opportunities. So if you're listening, if a church or organization, another nonprofit, a business, or even just individuals, if you guys want to help, there's opportunities for all of you guys to be able to help. So thank you again so much for coming on here. Is there anything that you want to touch on that we haven't touched on today?
I just want to say that I am so impressed again with the community. I'm impressed with the community and the way the community is responding, not just to our organization, but the way the devastation of COVID-19 has many bright points in that it brings everybody together. It lets us know that we're all in this together. It lets everyone know time out for foolishness. It lets everybody know that, your destiny is connected to my destiny. So even in addition now with the COVID-19 going on and all of the protests, for racial equality that's going on, again, everything is happening, I think, at the right time in history for us because we were already bound together through COVID-19. And now we're just transitioning and realizing that we need to stay together through all kinds of stormy weather. And what happens at the end? We have a healthier nation. So I'm real grateful for that. I'm grateful for this opportunity, and I would like the listeners to reach out to us. Visit our website, womenwhocareministries.org. We would also like you, if you go to Facebook, Women Who Care Ministries, you can see us there and see all that we're doing. And if you would like to make a donation, you could cash app us at give, $give, the number 2, WWCM, give, number 2, WWCM. And this will be to help support our summer meal program. We don't have all of the funds that we need to provide meals all the way through April 31st. Through August 31st. But we're jumping from the roof and believing God for wings on the way down. So, and you could also send a check in our P.O. box, and our address is on the website. But you could also go to womenwhocareministries.org and make a donation. If you'd like to volunteer, you can reach out to us, through our website. If you know somebody who needs help, please, that's what we're here for. So every time we come on a spotlight series or something like this, it's not just what can you do for women who care ministries. We need you to help spread the word to others about what we can do for them, because that's what we're here for, making a difference in the lives of people that we come in contact with.
I love that. Well, thank you so much. And
Thank you very much.
everyone who's listening, they are also on our website. So if you go to letsglue.com on our community page, you can see their information there as well. But we highly encourage you to go onto their website and to give to this organization. Again, whether that be your time. If you don't live in the area, you can give to their mission financially, as the methods that we have in our chat, and just as we mentioned today, because this is how we make a difference together, especially, like you said, through stormy weather. Yes. And that rhymed. Well, I thank you again so much for coming on here. Thank you everyone who listened in today and who tuned in. Please share this with all of your friends on your feeds so that more people can hear the whole message about today. And let us know if you listened on playback. We are so excited that you were able to listen however it was. So thank you, and I hope you have a great night, and we'll see you next Thursday, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, Kara.